Trying to get into? You're almost fucking hitting me, bro.
You gotta calm down, bro.
Yeah, bro, you gotta learn how to drive, bro.
You gotta relax yourself, bro.
You're almost hitting me with your truck, bro. You're almost hitting me, bro. What the fuck? In my fucking lane and shit, bro. Come on, bro. Trying to get into? You're almost fucking hitting me, bro.
You gotta calm down, bro.
Yeah, bro, you gotta learn how to drive, bro.
You gotta relax yourself, bro.
You're almost hitting me with your truck, bro. You're almost hitting me, bro. What the fuck? In my fucking lane and shit, bro. Come on.
I keep hearing Chimaev this, Chimaev this, Chimaev that, but what does the history and facts say about Chimaev? And you guys are media, you should know this. Chimaev fled Chechnya with his family because, an oppressive warlord dictator that killed people indiscriminately. No hate on him. It's your country. He goes back to Chechnya. He goes back to Chechnya because somebody wants to buy him a G-Wagon. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll be that whore. I'll do it. I'll fucking bend the knee for you, man. I like G-Wagons.
All right, fight fans. Strap in because Sean Strickland is not holding back one bit. Right off the bat, he's digging into Khamzat Chimaev's history, painting a picture that goes far beyond any typical pre-fight trash talk. Strickland isn't just questioning Chimaev's fighting ability, he's dissecting his entire character, from his origins in Chechnya to his controversial return and alleged bending the knee for material gain. This isn't just about octagon rivalry anymore. Strickland is making it deeply personal, challenging Khamzat's foundational narrative and implying a profound moral failing. You can feel the venom in his voice. This is a calculated attack designed to get under Khamzat's skin.
I think the U.S. government kind of looks at him like a terrorist now. Why? Because people get all the time in Chechnya and they completely violate human rights. So now Chimaev's scared as shit. Like, oh man, dude, I wanted to be a whore, but I didn't want to go full tip. Now he fucking flees to somewhere in the sand pit, and now he's hiding out in the sand pit.
And if you thought Strickland couldn't go any further, think again. He elevates his accusations, suggesting that Chimaev's actions have even drawn the negative attention of the U.S. government, effectively labeling him in the gravest terms. This is a level of personal attack rarely seen, even from Strickland. He's not just calling Khamzat a coward, he's questioning his allegiance and implying involvement in human rights violations, culminating in the claim that Chimaev is scared as shit and hiding. This isn't just fight promotion. It's an attempted character assassination that clearly crosses several lines. The too far bell is definitely ringing here.
Sean Strickland, your old friend, has been tweeting about you since the fight. He said that when you were in the gym together, he would actually out-wrestle you and be better than you in the wrestling over 4 rounds.
Roderick just take him down many times. How can he take me down, bro? Come on. This guy, I beat him everywhere and striking, but this guy just talk too much.
And now, what does he do? Chimaev, what does he do?
Now we get Khamzat's direct response, and you can almost feel his dismissive frustration. Strickland's been making claims about out-wrestling him in the gym, but Khamzat quickly shuts that down, completely negating the idea. He insists he dominated Strickland in every aspect, striking, wrestling, everywhere. For Chimaev, Strickland's words are just too much talk from a perceived lesser fighter. It's clear Khamzat sees these personal attacks as beneath him, preferring to let his skills speak. However, Strickland's words are a clear attempt to chip away at Chimaev's reputation, forcing him to address allegations far removed from the actual sport.
He has a Bitcoin scam, and he scams all his fans. And let me tell you guys something. I had the same Bitcoin scam offered to me. It was like 200,000, and I was like, no, fuck you, dude. I'm not going to scam my fans. I don't need money that bad. But that's what Chimaev did.
Just when you think Strickland has exhausted his list of grievances, he drops another bombshell, a Bitcoin scam. This accusation moves the conflict from political and moral failings to outright financial fraud, targeting Chimaev's integrity and his relationship with his fans. Strickland uses himself as a moral compass, claiming he was offered the same opportunity but refused out of loyalty. This is a very deliberate move to undermine Chimaev's public image, portraying him as someone willing to exploit his supporters for money. It's a calculated, venomous attack designed to make this personal feud even uglier and more complicated.
But let history record it as, you, sir, are a whore. You fled a country, you went back and you got buddy-buddy with a dictator and you fled again. Doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are and will always be a
Strickland's final words here really hammer home the personal nature of his assault. He summarizes his narrative. Chimaev fled, returned to a dictator, then fled again. More than anything, Strickland is challenging Chimaev's very definition of manhood. It's not about fighting skill anymore. It's about perceived honor, integrity, and courage outside the cage. This isn't just trash talk. It's an attempt to strip Khamzat of his dignity and invalidate his entire journey as a man, not just a fighter. Strickland has truly gone too far in trying to brand Chimaev with a deeply personal and insulting label.
This man fled his country. He went to Sweden. He had a great life. Australia welcomes a lot of immigrants, and I respect you, but the immigrants in Australia assimilate and become Australian, and goddamn, I respect you all for that. But this man goes back to Chechnya, off a dictator, him off, lets his son beat him up, and the leash got too tight. Too many G-Wagons. He was collected on. And when it came down to go a little deeper and a little more, this little ran to somewhere in the Middle East.
Strickland doubles down on his narrative, recounting Chimaev's journey from fleeing his homeland to returning for material wealth and then fleeing again. He's framing this as a betrayal of principle and a display of cowardice, contrasting it with what he perceives as honorable assimilation by other immigrants. This isn't just a critique. It's an outright shaming tactic designed to strip Khamzat of any moral high ground. By portraying him as someone who bent the knee to a dictator for G-Wagons, then ran again when the leash got too tight, Strickland is clearly making this as personal and humiliating as possible.
And then he goes and sells a Bitcoin scam. Chimaev can fight, but sir, you are not a man. The world knows you as not a man. You will never be a man, you little Chechen.
And then Strickland circles back to the Bitcoin scam, once again intertwining it with his core accusation that Khamzat is not a man. This repetition solidifies his attack, reinforcing the idea that Chimaev's character is fundamentally flawed. He dismisses Khamzat's fighting prowess, stating it doesn't matter how good he is in the cage if, in Strickland's eyes, he lacks the essence of a man. The use of "you little Chechnyan" is clearly an ethnic slur, escalating the personal nature of the insults and leaving no doubt that Strickland has crossed lines that most would consider far too far in the realm of pre-fight banter.
You know, I mean, I've taken him down, I've held him down, I've choked him, I've punched him. I mean, I've done all those things, so I don't see anything, you know, something special about him. Basically, he's a fighter's fighter. He's a good fighter. You know, if you look at him, he's like a, you know, an American cowboy, like from the movies. That's the kind of guy he is. But you know, we've done our work in the gym together. And if they offer him to me, if I can fight him for the belt, that's what I'll do. You know, I make the money, get the belt. I have nothing against him. I think that if you compare us.
Khamzat's response to Strickland's claims about their sparring sessions is calm but pointed. He completely dismisses any notion of Strickland having the upper hand, confidently stating he's taken him down, held him, choked him, and punched him in the gym. Chimaev views Strickland as just a fighter's fighter, a good one, perhaps like an American cowboy, but nothing special to him. This is Chimaev attempting to diffuse Strickland's personal jabs by reducing him to just another opponent, albeit one he's clearly dominated. It's a subtle but powerful way for Chimaev to assert his superiority without engaging in Strickland's mudslinging tactics.
On the skill levels wise, I'm levels above him. I'm in a whole different stratosphere from him. So, you know, he's not a threat to me. But, you know, he's a good guy. He's a good fighter. And if I can, I'd fight anybody. I'd ready to fight anyone. So if there's a belt there, I'll fight him, no problem, even Strickland.
Do you think that the winner of this fight should jump Imavov for a title opportunity?
Chimaev here leaves no room for doubt about his confidence, firmly stating he's levels above Strickland and in a whole different stratosphere. While he calls Strickland a good guy and a good fighter, it's framed within his own absolute belief in his superior skill set, making it clear he doesn't see Strickland as a threat. For Khamzat, It's about belts and making money, not personal vendettas, despite Strickland's best efforts to create one. This is Khamzat's classic "I'll fight anyone" mentality, but with a clear undertone that Strickland is simply not on his level as a competitor, a direct counter to the personal attacks.
I don't know, dude. I mean, here's the thing, dude. Do I think that, like, you want to see two terrorist Muslims fight each other, right? Like, what? No one gives. I mean, again, more than likely, Chimaev's going to take down Imavov and just dry hump him for, and nobody gives a fuck about two foreigners fighting.
This is where Strickland really dives headfirst into incredibly controversial territory. His comments about two terrorist Muslims fighting and nobody gives a fuck about two foreigners fighting are loaded with ethnic and religious bigotry. This is a clear attempt to dehumanize Khamzat and his potential opponents, tapping into deeply offensive stereotypes. This is not about fighting skill or even past actions. It's an outright inflammatory statement designed to provoke and offend. This level of rhetoric is far beyond any reasonable line for fight promotion, showcasing just how too far Strickland is willing to go in making things personal and ugly.
Yeah, life's weird, man. So when you're talking about Chimaev going to the White House, he's best friends with like a warlord dictator that murders people. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if this administration puts a terrorist on the White House card. I guess the perfect person to fight him would be me, right? The last real American in the UFC.
The fight people always thought was going to happen was you and Israel Adesanya for the title, but now Sean Strickland's the champion. What did you think of Strickland's win over Adesanya?
Strickland continues to intertwine Chimaev's alleged political associations with his own self-proclaimed role as the last real American in the UFC. He leverages the idea of Chimaev's ties to a warlord dictator to imply a White House invitation for Chimaev would be an act of putting a terrorist on the White House card. This isn't just personal. It's a political smear, attempting to brand Chimaev as an enemy of the state and painting himself as the patriotic hero. It's a classic Strickland maneuver, extreme rhetoric, nationalistic appeal, and making the fight far bigger than just two men, injecting deep, divisive personal undertones.
Actually, I was thinking about if Easy not knock him out, he gonna win, but it's happened. He couldn't knock him out first round. I was thinking if the guy just pressure him, Easy gonna get tired. Because all these guys, Easy fought, they play easy game. So Easy good on his game, and just doing technique. Don't need to care about just like Sean Strickland went in, like me, and straight in the punch, and smash faces, So just need to drive in. And now everyone knows how to win against Easy, how to make him.
Khamzat shifts gears here, offering a candid and insightful breakdown of Sean Strickland's championship victory over Israel Adesanya. He highlights Strickland's relentless pressure, contrasting it with previous opponents who played Izzy's game. Chimaev respects Strickland's smash-face approach, noting that it exposed a blueprint for beating Adesanya. This analysis shows Chimaev's fighter's mind, acknowledging Strickland's effectiveness in the cage rather than engaging directly with the personal insults. It's a professional assessment that momentarily steps away from the personal feud, focusing on the technical aspect of fighting that both men share.
It's kind of hard, dude, because let's just say he does fight Imanov or whatever. Every fight, this guy gets hurt. Mysterious injuries. I break my hand, my ovaries hurt. Like, I did this, I did that. Like, dude, you've never produced an x-ray, you've never produced an MRI. Like, but every fight, dude, you got to take a year off because you're injured. Like, are you that big of a bitch? So I don't know, man. I think it'll just be curious to see his trajectory and actually how many times he fights, But like, when you're him, do you have to fight? When you're off Cordero and you're getting gifted G-Wagons and like, how much money do you think that guy gets from the Chechnyan warlord, right? He probably gets a ton. So it's like, for him, it's not necessarily about fighting. It's about having a belt for as long as possible. And I think that's why you have a guy who just sits on it and gets injured.
Strickland now turns his fire towards Khamzat's career trajectory, accusing him of faking mysterious injuries to avoid fighting. He mocks Chimaev's supposed excuses, questioning his toughness by calling him that big of a bitch. The accusations intensify as Strickland ties these injuries back to the gi wagons and money Chimaev allegedly receives from the Chechen warlord. He suggests Chimaev is financially secure enough to not need to fight, preferring to sit on a belt rather than defending it regularly. This is a brutal personal attack on Khamzat's courage, integrity, and commitment to the sport, suggesting his motivations are purely opportunistic.
Actually, I don't think about this fight right now. I just focus on Usman. But they promised me, like I said before, Gilbert Burns, if you win with this guy against this guy, I'm gonna fight for the title. And since then, 2 years ago, I fight again as well, but didn't get the title. So I don't know what's going on. So I'm not after that get just title. I'm going after all heads in the UFC.
Khamzat once again brings the conversation back to the reality of his career, expressing frustration over broken promises for title shots, specifically mentioning the Gilbert Burns fight. He emphasizes his focus on his current opponent Usman and his ultimate goal to go after all heads in the UFC once he gets his belt. This response highlights the business side of MMA and Chimaev's drive for legacy and financial success. It also serves as a subtle counter to Strickland's personal attacks, by showing Chimaev is grounded in his professional objectives, rather than getting sidetracked by derogatory comments and accusations.
Did you see Khamzat Chimaev was on a podcast earlier this week, the Jackson podcast, and he was asked about this legendary sparring session you guys had. He said he tapped you out. That's why you hate him.
Bro, I made him quit training. Witnesses in the audience. Where's Eric at? I made him quit. No, dude, we're doing positional grappling, and positional grappling. All right, start on my back. And I was like, first round, I let him choke me because it's like no one gives a Let me tell you about this little bitch. I'll tell you.
This segment takes the personal aspect to a whole new level, as Strickland recounts a supposed sparring session with Chimaev, outright claiming he made him quit. He dismisses Chimaev's counter-narrative about tapping and even calls him a little bitch. This is a direct challenge to Khamzat's toughness and reputation within the gym, an incredibly personal slight in the fight game. Strickland is not just talking. He's bringing up specific past encounters, trying to expose Chimaev's perceived weaknesses and undermine his confidence by publicly airing their training history. This is pure, unadulterated personal beef.
When I walk into a gym, do you think that I go find the little weakest man? I say, let's spar. I say, no, I go find the biggest, baddest motherfucker. I'm like, hey, I want to spar you. Every time Chimaev would walk in the gym, he would pick the smallest, lowest level pro and say, but he looks like my opponent. You're beating the fuck out of this. And this is a true story. You guys could back me up, my team. He would pick the smallest guy. Chimaev's a fucking bully. And if you notice what he does in the division, he just runs and fucking hides. Oh, now I want to go to 205 and fight fucking Yuri, who's not even the champ, dude. You just run and fucking hide. You did it when you train with us, and you're doing it in the division.
And Sean been there, Sean been in a lot of wars, and I don't think so.
Strickland continues his tirade on Chimaev's character, accusing him of being a fucking bully who deliberately picks smaller, weaker opponents in the gym and in the division. He vividly contrasts his own philosophy of seeking out the biggest, baddest mother to spar with Chimaev's alleged pattern of evasion. This is a very targeted and personal attack on Khamzat's courage and fighting integrity, suggesting he's a fraud who avoids genuine challenges both in training and in competition. Strickland is effectively calling Chimaev a coward who hides, a deeply personal insult in the world of combat sports.
You know, little Brazilian guy. What's his name?
Burns.
Gilbert Burns, dude. Good family, man. Gilbert Burns, dude. Gilbert Burns pulled his card, dude. Gilbert Burns like 5'8" and almost fucked him up. Did a goddamn good job. Gilbert Burns is a savage, but it's like, you're just a bully, dude. Just a bully.
Strickland concludes his bully argument by referencing Khamzat's fight with Gilbert Burns, implying that Burns pulled his card and exposed Chimaev's true nature. He elevates Burns as a savage who almost him up, in contrast to Chimaev, who Strickland repeatedly dismisses as just a bully. This uses a legitimate fight to solidify his deeply personal critique of Khamzat's character and fighting style. For Strickland, the Burns fight wasn't just a tough outing for Khamzat. It was a revelation that validated all of Strickland's personal accusations about Chimaev avoiding real challenges and being fundamentally flawed.